Imagine this for a second. You're pulling double shifts at a high-end restaurant, counting tips just to stay afloat, when the most stunning woman you've ever seen shows up, as the new dishwasher. You joke around. You talk. You feel that pull you don't expect. Then you find out she isn't who she says she is. She's actually the millionaire owner, working undercover to see how her staff is treated. And yeah, this story is mine. Before I get into it, take a second to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now let me tell you how it all started. The first time I noticed Harper, she was standing near the massive dishwasher, looking unsure of where to put her hands. Steam rushed out as I pushed through the swinging doors, my arms stacked with dirty plates. It was 11 p.m. on a Friday at Le Jardin, which meant pure chaos. Servers dodging each other, chefs shouting times, and me surviving on caffeine and stubbornness. "Lena, table 6 is asking about their starters," Marcus yelled from the grill without looking up. I nodded and wiped my forehead with my sleeve. 3 years at this place, and most nights still felt like trying to swim with weights tied to my ankles. The money kept the lights on while I figured life out. Barely. That's when I really saw her. She stood at the dish station, completely out of place in an oversized coat and a hesitant smile. Her dark hair was twisted into a loose bun, and her eyes kept scanning the kitchen like she was trying to learn everything at once. "You must be new," I said, setting the plates down beside her. "I'm Lena." She looked up, and I swear the room softened a little. Warm brown eyes. Calm. Focused. "Harp," she said. "Nice to meet you." There was something about how she spoke. Polite. Almost careful. Not rushed like everyone else during a dinner rush. "First night?" I asked, grabbing a towel and helping dry a rack of glasses. She laughed quietly. "Is it that obvious?" "I'm still learning how things work." "You will," I said. "Just stay ahead of the servers." I nodded toward the dining room. "They get feral when they run out of plates." That made her smile. A real one. The kind that reaches the eyes. I noticed the tiny lines at the corners and felt something shift in my chest. "I'll remember that," she said. The rest of the night blurred together like it always did. Orders, noise, cleanup. But I kept finding my eyes drifting back to the dish pit. Harper worked steadily, quietly. Still, there was an intensity in the way she watched everything around her, like she was studying the place instead of just surviving the shift. After the last guest left and we started closing, I walked back over. She was scrubbing the sink with slow, exact movements. "So," I said, leaning on the counter. "How'd night 1 go?" She looked up and smiled again. "A lot. But good. Everyone really cares about this place." "They have to," I said. "It's got a reputation." I watched her for a moment, trying to place what felt different. "Have you worked in restaurants before?" Something flickered across her face. "Gone in a second. Not quite like this." Before I could ask more, Marcus shouted that he was locking up. Harper rinsed her gloves, grabbed a small backpack from under the counter, and headed for the back door. "See you tomorrow?" I asked as we walked out. "Definitely," she said, and the way she said it felt solid. Real. I watched her cross the lot and climb into an older Honda Civic under the streetlight. Nothing flashy. Everything about her felt intentional. The car. The clothes. Even her posture. Like she was stepping into a role. As she drove away, one thing hit me clearly. I already couldn't wait to see her again. The next morning, I showed up 15 minutes early. I told myself it was for coffee. I was lying. Harper was already there, tying her apron with an ease that didn't quite match her new story. "Morning," I said, trying to sound normal. Good morning, she replied, smiling like she'd been expecting me. Ready for round 2? Always, she said. I poured 2 cups from the staff pot. Cream in mine. She took hers black. Somehow, that fit her perfectly. So, I said, leaning back against the prep counter, what were you doing before this? Harper paused, her cup stopping just short of her lips. A little of this. A little of that, she said. I guess you could say I'm between paths. It was vague. Again. But the way she said it, slow and deliberate, felt thoughtful, not evasive. It made me curious, not uneasy. Must be nice, I said lightly. Having choices. She gave a small smile. Sometimes too many choices are harder than none at all. Before I could ask what she meant, Marcus came flying through the kitchen doors like he'd been powered by pure caffeine, and just like that, the lunch rush swallowed us whole. All day, my attention kept drifting back to Harper. The calm way she moved through the chaos. How she seemed to know what was needed before anyone said a word. The flash of an expensive-looking watch she quickly tugged under her sleeve when she noticed me looking. There was definitely more to her than she let on. But every time our eyes met and she smiled at me, warm and real, I realized something else too. I didn't care what she was hiding. I was already drawn in by the mystery of her. Over the next few shifts, we settled into an unexpected rhythm. Harper always showed up exactly 15 minutes early. Same quiet focus. Same ability to disappear into the flow of the kitchen without making waves. But I noticed. You're staring again, Maya said one afternoon as she stacked salads onto her tray. I am not, I said, even though I absolutely was, watching Harper line up clean glasses with almost perfect symmetry. Sure, Maya said with a grin. And I'm definitely not judging you. She's cute in that I know things but won't tell you way. I rolled my eyes, but she wasn't wrong. Something about Harper didn't add up. She asked thoughtful questions about how the restaurant started. She listened closely when Marcus talked about food like it was art. She never complained about long hours or rude guests the way the rest of us did. Maybe she's just a great worker, I said, mostly to convince myself. I didn't buy it. One night, during a rare quiet moment between the dinner rush and the late crowd, I wandered back to the dish station. Harper was working and softly humming to herself. Something gentle. Familiar, but just out of reach. You have a really nice voice, I said. She startled a little. Oh. I didn't think anyone could hear me over all this. She laughed, cheeks turning pink. After 3 years here, I've learned to tune most things out, I said. But music always sneaks through. I grabbed a plate and helped stack. What was that song? Claire de Lune, she said, then paused. You know it? I took piano lessons as a kid, I said. My mom forced me. I was awful, but I loved listening when she played. Her expression softened. That's really sweet. Music sticks with you, I added. It does, she said quietly, like that thought meant something deeper to her. Before I could follow that thread, the timer went off and the noise rushed back in, pulling us apart. Later that week, I started bringing her coffee on her breaks. She always looked surprised, like she wasn't used to small kindnesses being directed at her. We'd sit on the back steps, cups warming our hands, talking about random things. Movies. People we'd noticed. Anything but the questions hovering in my mind. Like why someone who knew classical music and wine pairings was working for $11 an hour. What do you do when you're not here? I asked one night. She watched the steam rise from her cup. I read. Walk around. I like watching people. Then she glanced at me. What about you? Any big plans beyond serving expensive pasta to rich people? I laughed. That's a painfully accurate summary. Then, more seriously, I'm saving to go back to school. Maybe business. Or hospitality management. That suits you, she said immediately. And there was something in her tone. Warm. Certain. You're a natural leader. I've seen how you handle tough customers. How you help new hires without making them feel small. You'd be great running a place like this. The compliment hit harder than I expected. I looked at her. You've been watching me. She smiled, just a little. Harper's cheeks turned pink in the soft light coming through the kitchen window. I notice things, she said quietly. It's kind of a habit. Good things? I asked. She looked straight at me then. Really looked at me. And that familiar flutter hit my chest again. Very good things. The moment hung there, full and fragile. I leaned in without fully realizing it, pulled by the warmth in her eyes and the way she was looking at me like I mattered. Like I was something worth holding on to. Then the back door banged open. Lena, we need you inside, Marcus called. VIP just walked in. Just like that, the bubble burst. I stood up, ready to head back into the noise, when Harper reached out and caught my hand. Just for a second. Her touch was warm. Steady. And it sent a quiet spark straight up my arm. See you tomorrow? She asked, repeating the same words I'd said to her on her first night. Wouldn't miss it, I said. And I meant it more than I'd meant anything in a long time. As I walked back into the kitchen, the clatter and voices crashing around me, I had the strong sense that she was watching me leave. And maybe, just maybe, she felt that same pull I did. The next night, I decided to stop circling and just say it. During our coffee break, I turned to her, my heart pounding harder than it should have. Harper, I said, would you want to get dinner sometime? You know. Somewhere that isn't work. She froze for half a second, her cup paused near her lips. I thought she was going to smile and say yes right away. Instead, something shifted. Her expression softened, but there was a hint of guilt there too. I'd like that, she said slowly. But maybe, we should take it slow. Of course, I said quickly. I just really enjoy talking to you. She smiled, small and honest. I enjoy talking to you too. More than I probably should. That sentence stayed with me. But before I could ask what she meant, she stood up and gathered her things. I should get back, she said. Then she paused. And Lena, thank you. For the coffee. For being kind. It means more than you realize. I watched her walk back inside, that feeling returning. The sense that there was something important she wasn't telling me. Still, the way she said my name. The softness in her voice. That part felt real. Whatever she was holding back, I was already too far in to pretend it didn't matter. I was falling for her. Questions and all. Tuesday morning felt different the moment I stepped into Jardin for pre-shift. The air was tighter. Focused. Marcus paced behind the bar. Janet was flipping through the reservation list like she didn't trust it to stay the same. Even our usually unshakable sommelier looked uneasy. Tonight's the night, Janet said, clapping her hands to get our attention. The Hartwell Foundation Donor Dinner. 50 of the city's most influential people. Including potential investors. I looked around and noticed the extra staff, the straighter postures. Everyone knew what this meant. This isn't just a dinner, Janet continued. It's a performance. I want everything flawless. As she walked us through the schedule and the special 7-course menu, my eyes scanned the room for Harper. She'd been scheduled for prep, but I hadn't seen her yet. That wasn't like her. Where's the new dishwasher? Marcus asked. She'll be here, Janet said quickly. Then added, she's handling some special preparations today. That made me pause. Special preparations? For a dishwasher? The day flew by in controlled chaos. Flowers arrived. The good plates came out. The kitchen practiced the tasting menu again and again until every move felt automatic. Harper finally showed up around 3. But something about her was different. More serious. More focused. She worked with a confidence that didn't feel new anymore. I noticed her speaking quietly with Janet more than once, their conversations short but oddly formal. "Everything okay?" I asked when we crossed paths near the dish station. "Yeah," she said quickly, not quite meeting my eyes. "I just really want tonight to go well." "It will," I said. "We work well together." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yeah," she said softly. "We do." By 6 o'clock, the doors were about to open, and the room felt like it was holding its breath. By 6 o'clock, the first guests were walking in. I caught glimpses through the kitchen doors as sharply dressed men and women took their seats at tables dressed in crisp white linens. Crystal glasses sparkled under the chandeliers like they belonged in a museum. "These people have more money than sense," Maya whispered as she straightened her tie. "That necklace at table 4 probably costs more than my car." I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. Harper was gone. I hadn't seen her since service began. The dish station was being handled by the usual night crew, which didn't make sense. She was supposed to be here. The evening ran like clockwork. Every course landed perfectly. The wine pairings impressed even the toughest guests. Compliments flowed back into the kitchen with every plate. I was carrying a tray of dessert plates when Janet's voice came over the sound system. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention for just a moment?" I stopped near the kitchen doors. These dinners usually ended with a quick thank you and polite applause. "Tonight, we have someone very special with us," Janet continued. "Someone who played a key role in building this restaurant into what it is today. Please welcome the owner of the Meridian Restaurant Group, Harper Meridian." Everything inside me dropped. Harper Meridian. The name I'd seen on pay stubs. On internal emails. A name that never once connected in my mind to the woman washing dishes beside me for 2 weeks. My heart slammed as I pushed through the doors into the dining room. There she was. But not the Harper I knew. She walked toward the small stage in a sleek black dress that looked effortlessly expensive. Her hair was styled neatly, her posture confident and unshaken. Diamond earrings caught the light as the room filled with applause. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she said into the microphone. It was the same voice I'd grown fond of. Warm. Calm. But now it carried authority. Control. "The work the Hartwell Foundation does for education and community growth means a great deal to us," she continued. I didn't hear much after that. My ears rang too loudly. The quiet dishwasher. The woman who drank black coffee on the back steps. The one who asked about my dreams and told me I'd make a great manager. She was the owner. A millionaire. The person who signed my paycheck. I backed into the kitchen, hands shaking as I set the tray down. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The careful questions. The way she watched everyone. The expensive watch. Her understanding of the business. The music. "You okay?" Marcus asked, noticing my face. I couldn't answer. Through the doors, I saw her shaking hands, accepting praise, smiling at people who clearly knew exactly who she was. And tomorrow, she'd probably come in wearing that same oversized coat, ready to keep pretending. The applause grew louder as she finished her speech. Cameras flashed. Guests crowded around her. She looked completely at home in that world of wealth and power. Like she'd always belonged there. Because she had. I thought about every conversation we'd shared. Every moment I'd believed we were connecting. Was it all planned? Was I just another observation? The shame hit first. Then anger. She let me care. She let me fall. All while hiding the truth. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the back exit. I barely heard Maya calling after me. I couldn't stay. Not tonight. The alley door slammed shut behind me. Inside, applause continued. Harper was probably soaking it all in, pleased that her little experiment had worked. But it hadn't. Not anymore. Tomorrow, I'd have to face her. Figure out how to stand across from someone who'd lied to me from day one. Tonight, I just needed distance. The cool night air hit my face as I walked toward the bus stop, but it didn't calm the heat burning in my chest. Harper Meridian. The owner. The lie I'd fallen for. I managed to avoid her for 3 days. It wasn't easy in a restaurant that small, but I kept myself busy. Too busy. Maya kept asking if I was okay. Marcus piled on extra tables just to keep me moving. Whenever I heard Harper's voice, I found something urgent in the dining room. When she approached me on breaks, I suddenly remembered inventory checks or guest requests. But on Friday night, after the last customer left and most of the staff headed home, I found myself alone in the kitchen with her. I was finishing up in the dining room, wiping the last table, when I heard soft music drifting in from the kitchen. Classical. Familiar. The same piece she used to hum during her first week. I knew I should have stayed where I was. But my feet moved anyway. Harper stood at the sink with her back to me, washing the final pots. Same careful movements. Same focus. She was back in her dishwasher uniform, hair twisted into that loose, messy bun. If I hadn't seen her in that elegant dress, standing under chandeliers while wealthy donors applauded her, I might have believed this was the real her. "You've been avoiding me," she said calmly, without turning around. I stopped in the doorway. "I've been busy." She turned off the water and faced me. Those brown eyes met mine again. Warm. Steady. But now I knew who they belonged to. Someone who could buy this place without blinking. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" I crossed my arms. I'm not sure what the owner of a multi-million-dollar restaurant group needs to discuss with a server. The words came out sharper than I meant. Still, she didn't step back. She moved closer instead. And I hated that my heart reacted the way it always did. "That's not fair," she said softly. "Fair?" I let out a dry laugh. "You want to talk about fair? You lied to me. Every day. Every conversation. I thought we were building something real, and it was all based on a lie." "Not all of it," she said quickly. "Oh, really? Let me guess. Your name isn't even Harper." "It is," she said. "Harper Meridian." She took another step toward me. "And everything I told you was true. I love music. I enjoy watching people. And She stopped, looking down at her hands. "And you what?" I asked. "I care about you," she said quietly. "More than I expected. More than I should." The words hung between us. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the hurt was still right there. Fresh. Heavy. "Why?" I asked. "Why pretend? Why not just be honest?" She leaned against the counter, suddenly looking tired. Not powerful. Not untouchable. Just human. "Because I needed to know what was actually happening in my restaurants," she said. The reports didn't match what I was hearing. Complaints went unanswered. I needed to see it myself. "So we were all part of some test," I said. At first, she admitted. Then she looked up at me, and something in her expression shifted. But then I met you. And that changed everything. She took a breath. You were kind to me when you thought I was nobody. You shared your coffee. Your plans. You saw me. Not my money. Not my title. Just me. I wanted to stay angry. It would have been easier. Safer. But the honesty in her voice was breaking through the walls I'd built. You should have told me, I said. My voice was quieter now. I know, she said. I wanted to. So many times. But I was scared. I scoffed. Scared of what? You have everything. She stepped closer. Close enough that I noticed her perfume for the first time. Soft. Subtle. Expensive. Scared that you'd look at me differently, she said. That you'd stop seeing Harper the person and only see Harper the owner. Scared that whatever this is, would disappear. She reached out, hesitating, her fingers barely brushing mine. I've never had someone care about me just for me, she said. Not for what I have. Do you know how rare that is? I looked down at our hands. Her fingers were trembling. So what now? I asked. Do you go back to your penthouse and leave us all guessing whether any of this was real? She met my eyes. That depends, she said. On you. On me. On whether you can forgive me. And whether we're willing to figure this out without lies between us. I searched her face, looking for cracks. For doubt. For anything that told me this was still an act. But all I saw was fear, hope, and something that felt dangerously close to love. Harper, she said softly, I know this is messy. I know I hurt you. But what I feel for you, that's the most real thing in my life right now. Before I could talk myself out of it. Before I could list every reason this was a bad idea. I stepped forward and kissed her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. It tasted like uncertainty. Like regret. And something sweet I couldn't name. Her hands came up to my face, steady but trembling, and I felt her exhale against my lips like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. This is crazy, I whispered. She nodded, smiling anyway. It is. You're my boss. She let out a small laugh. Technically, I'm your boss's boss's boss. That does not help, I said. Her thumb brushed my cheek. No. But maybe it doesn't make it impossible either. Looking into her eyes, seeing how open she was, I thought she might be right. Maybe impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been figured out yet. Still, standing there in that empty kitchen, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. The hard part would be learning how to build something honest on top of a foundation that started with secrets. What happens tomorrow? I asked. Tomorrow, she said, I stop pretending. And maybe we start finding out who we really are. Together. A few days later came the Hartwell Foundation Gala. It was supposed to be the event of the season. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. Not because I was attending as a guest, but because the catering contract was massive, and the tips from events like this usually made the long hours worth it. I spent the afternoon helping set up the ballroom at the Grand Meridian Hotel. Polishing silverware that already sparkled. Adjusting flowers that probably cost more than my rent. The room looked unreal. Crystal chandeliers. Ivory-draped tables. Soft golden light everywhere. You clean up well, Maya said as she fixed her bow tie during the staff briefing. I smoothed my uniform and laughed nervously. I just hope I don't spill something on the wrong person. Stick with me, she said. I'm a pro at pretending rich people don't scare me. Guests arrived at 7 sharp. Designer gowns. Expensive watches. Jewelry that looked heavier than it should be. Confidence that came from never checking prices. I moved through the room with trays of champagne, invisible the way service staff usually are at events like this. Then I saw her. Harper stood near the bar in an emerald green gown that looked like it had been made just for her. Her hair was styled elegantly, her posture calm and confident. She laughed at something an older man said, completely at ease. She didn't look like the woman who washed dishes beside me. She looked like someone who owned the room. My hands started to shake. I nearly dropped my tray. This couldn't be real. But it was. People approached her with respect. With familiarity. They shook her hand like it meant something to them. Then the microphone crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer said, "please welcome our host for the evening, Harper Meridian, CEO of Meridian Hospitality Group." The applause was overwhelming. Harper walked onto the stage with a grace I'd never seen before. Under the lights, she looked powerful. Confident. Untouchable. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice steady and warm. "The Hartwell Foundation's work in education and opportunity is deeply important to me." I didn't hear much after that. My ears were ringing. Harper Meridian. The name on the memos. The name on my paycheck. The woman everyone thought was distant and rarely seen. The woman I'd been falling for. The woman who hadn't told me the truth. I backed toward the service entrance, my vision blurring. I refused to cry there. Not in that room. Not surrounded by people who would never understand what it felt like to realize the person you trusted most was never fully real. Maya slipped up beside me, her face tight with worry. "What's going on? You look like you just saw a ghost." "Harper," I said, barely getting the word out. She's the owner." Maya blinked. "The owner?" "Harper Meridian," I whispered. "She's been scrubbing dishes next to us for 3 weeks." Her eyes widened. "You're serious?" "She lied to me," I said. The words felt jagged. "About everything." From the other side of the service doors, Harper's voice carried on, talking about community. About hard work. About lifting people up. The irony pressed down on my chest until it was hard to breathe. "Why would she do that?" Maya asked. I thought about the questions Harper always asked. The way she watched everything so closely. The calm confidence that never quite made sense. The watch she never talked about. The hands that had never really looked worn. "She was studying us," I said slowly, the realization settling in. "Seeing how things really run when no one's performing." Maya shook her head. "That might be smart. But it's also messed up." "It's manipulative," I said, my voice breaking. "She made me care about her. She asked about my dreams. My life. My plans. She made me think." I stopped, swallowing hard. "She made me think it was real." The applause in the ballroom swelled. Her speech was ending. "I need to leave," I said. "You can't just walk out in the middle of service." "Watch me." I grabbed my jacket and headed for the exit. But before I could pull the door open, it swung toward me. Harper stood there. She looked nothing like the woman from the kitchen. The dress. The poise. The distance in her eyes. She felt like a stranger. "Lena," she said quietly. "Please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" I shot back. "How you lied to me every single day. It's not that simple." I laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Right. You're the powerful owner. And I'm the waitress dumb enough to believe you cared. I do care, she said quickly. Is that why you pretended to be someone else? She stepped closer, desperation slipping through her polished calm. I didn't plan for this. I came to learn. To understand my business. And then I met you. And that changed what? I asked. Your little experiment? It stopped being an experiment almost immediately. Then why didn't you tell me the truth? Her confidence finally cracked. Because I knew you'd look at me like this. Like what? Like I betrayed you. Like none of it mattered. The silence between us felt heavy. Her face softened, and for a moment I saw the woman I thought I knew. No, she whispered. None of it was fake. Not with you. But I was already turning away, pushing through the door into the cold night. She called my name. I heard it. I just didn't stop. Because if I had turned around, I might have seen something that made me forgive her. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Harper didn't show up for her shift the next day. Or the day after. Still sick, Janet said when Marcus asked, but the look she gave me told me she knew. Maybe she always had. I buried myself in work. Extra shifts. Late nights. Inventory counts. Anything to keep my mind busy. Anything to stop thinking about emerald green dresses. About secrets. About the way Harper had looked at me like I mattered. Like I was something rare. When really, I'd just been part of a story I didn't know I was in. On Thursday, Maya finally caught me during my break. She dropped into the chair across from me at our usual table behind the restaurant and crossed her arms. All right. What's going on? She said. You've been acting like a machine for 3 days straight. And don't say you're fine. I know what fine looks like. This isn't it. I stared down at my sandwich. I hadn't taken a single bite. It's complicated. She leaned in. Try me. So I did. I told her about Harper. About who she really was. About the lies. About how easy it had been to fall for someone who, in the end, felt like a stranger. Maya didn't interrupt once. Her eyes just kept getting wider. When I finished, she let out a slow breath. Wait. Harper Meridian? As in that Harper Meridian? And she's been washing dishes next to us for weeks? Apparently. And you seriously had no idea? None. I shrugged. There were little things that felt off, but nothing that big. I swallowed. I feel so stupid. Maya went quiet, thinking. What did she say when you called her out? That she cared about me. That what we had was real. I gave a short, humorless laugh. Yeah. Because that happens all the time, right? Maybe it does, Maya said gently. I looked up. No. Don't. Just listen. From her side, she probably doesn't get treated like a normal person much. Everyone sees the money first. Maybe working here, being invisible for once, that mattered to her. Maybe you mattered. Or maybe she's just very good at pretending, I said. Maybe. But you said she looked wrecked when you walked away. I had said that. And it was true. Harper hadn't looked guilty. She'd looked crushed. Still, that didn't mean love. It could have been regret. It doesn't change anything, I said. Even if her feelings were real, everything started with a lie. How do you trust someone after that? Before Maya could answer, Janet appeared near the door. Lena, someone's asking for you. My chest tightened. Harper? Janet shook her head. Some woman in a suit. Says she's from Meridian Corporate. That was worse somehow. I followed Janet out, my hands damp, my mind racing. But it wasn't Harper waiting by the host's stand. It was a polished woman with silver hair and calm, steady eyes. She looked like she lived in boardrooms. "Ms. Maya?" she asked. "I'm Catherine Walsh. I work with Harper. Could we talk somewhere private?" Minutes later, I was sitting across from her in the empty dining room. It felt strange, like stepping into someone else's life. "Harper asked me to give you this," Catherine said, sliding an envelope toward me. She wanted to come herself, but she didn't want to make things harder. I didn't touch it. "What is it?" "A letter. And an invitation, if you choose to read it." She hesitated, then added, "I've worked with Harper for 8 years. I've never seen her like she was these last few weeks." Whatever this was, it mattered to her. After she left, the room felt too quiet. I turned the envelope over in my hands. My name was written on it in Harper's neat handwriting. The same handwriting I'd seen on kitchen notes, on schedules taped to the wall. Somehow, I'd never questioned it. I opened it. "Lena, I know you may never want to see me again. I wouldn't blame you. I lied, and that part is on me. There's no excuse. But I need you to know that the important things I shared with you were true. I came to the restaurant to understand what was going wrong. I stayed because of you. You once asked me about my dreams, and I didn't know how to answer. I had forgotten that I was allowed to want things. Watching you chase your goals reminded me of that. You reminded me that life isn't just numbers and ownership. It's connection. You matter to me. What we shared mattered. If you're willing to hear the full truth, I'll be at the Meridian Hotel rooftop garden tomorrow at 8. If you don't come, I'll understand." I folded the letter slowly, my heart caught somewhere between anger and something softer I wasn't ready to name yet. "I understand if you can't forgive me. I just had to try. All my love. Harper." I read the last lines again. Then again. My feelings bounced all over the place. Anger. Hope. Confusion. I thought about ripping the letter in half and walking away from all of it. Pretending none of this had ever happened. But another part of me stayed quiet. That part remembered the way Harper used to glance at me when she thought I wasn't looking. The way her voice softened when she talked about caring. That part wanted answers. Maya found me still sitting there nearly an hour later, the letter folded tight in my hands. "So," she said, sitting across from me. "She wants to meet tomorrow night. Are you going?" I looked at her. My best friend. The person who had heard every rant, every dream, every overthinking spiral about the dishwasher who somehow turned my life upside down. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Part of me thinks I should quit, find something new, and erase this whole mess." "And the other part?" I hesitated. I thought about Harper's smile. The way she hummed while working. The night she kissed me like I was the only thing that mattered. The other part thinks I need to hear the truth. Maya reached over and squeezed my hand. "Then you already know what you're going to do." That night, I stared at the letter one last time. At the careful words. At the hope tucked between the lines. Maybe Maya was right. Maybe I owed it to myself to find out if any of it had been real. The rooftop garden at the Meridian Hotel was even more beautiful than I expected. Soft lights hung between trees, and the city glowed below like it was holding its breath. I got there early. 15 minutes early, actually. Part nerves. Part curiosity. I wanted to see her world before she arrived. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on a simple blue dress Maya insisted made my eyes stand out. Not that it mattered. This wasn't a date. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. You came. I turned, and there was Harper. Walking toward me. My breath caught before I could stop it. She was in jeans and a white sweater, her hair loose and natural. She looked like the woman from the kitchen. But softer somehow. Less guarded. I wasn't sure I would, she said quietly. I almost didn't, I admitted, crossing my arms. But I deserve an explanation. She nodded and gestured toward a small bench surrounded by flowers. Will you sit with me? We sat on opposite ends, the space between us feeling much bigger than it was. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The city hummed below. I bought my first restaurant when I was 25, Harper said at last. I used my trust fund and a loan that scared me to death. I wanted to prove I could build something on my own. I listened, watching her face in the soft light. It worked. Too well. 5 years later, I had a chain. 10 years later, I barely recognized the business. I was making decisions about places I'd never seen, people I'd never met. She looked at me. That's why I went undercover. The reports didn't match reality. I needed to see the truth for myself. So we were part of an investigation. At first, yes. The honesty stung, but I appreciated it. I planned to stay a few weeks and disappear. What changed? She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered. You did. That first night, when you helped me and warned me about the rush, you were kind to someone you thought was nobody. And you kept being kind. You shared your dreams. You laughed with me. She turned fully toward me. Do you know how long it's been since someone talked to me like that? Like I was just a person? My anger softened, even though I fought it. You still lied. I did. Every day. And it tore me apart. Her eyes shimmered. I wanted to tell you so many times. Especially when you talked about going back to school. I hated knowing the truth would hurt you. I swallowed hard, my heart pulling in two directions again. When you kissed me back there. When you looked at me like I mattered. Like I was chosen. I wanted to tell you everything. I just didn't know how. Afraid of what? I asked. Afraid of losing you. Afraid you'd look at me the way you are right now. Like I'm someone you don't recognize. That part hurt, because it was true. Sitting across from her, knowing the truth, the ease we once had felt far away. Like something fragile we'd already broken. I don't know how to trust you, I said softly. How do I know this isn't just another act? Harper didn't argue. She didn't rush. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a folded paper. Because I'm done pretending. She handed it to me. I unfolded it slowly. My heart skipped when I read the heading. A formal letter. Addressed to the Board of Meridian Hospitality. What is this? I asked. My resignation. I'm stepping down. I stared at the paper, then at her. Why would you do that? Because you were right. I can't lead from a distance. I can't make choices about people's lives without standing where they stand. Her voice was steady now. Clear. I want to get back to the reason I started all this. Being in restaurants. Working with people. Not just owning everything from behind glass walls. Harper, you can't throw away your entire career because of me. She smiled, and this time it wasn't the polished smile from the stage. It was the one from the kitchen. I'm not doing this for you, Lena. I'm doing it because you reminded me what matters. I looked down at the letter again, my thoughts racing. Then what will you do? I don't know yet. Start over, maybe. Work somewhere that needs real leadership. Build something honest. She paused. Maybe with someone who shares that dream. The meaning sat quietly between us. I thought about my own hopes. About running a place where people felt seen. Where work meant dignity. This is crazy, I said. And I surprised myself by smiling. Absolutely, she said. But maybe the best things are. She reached for my hand, slowly, like she was giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Her hand was warm. Familiar. And something tight inside my chest finally loosened. I can't promise it will be simple, she said. People will judge. They'll doubt us. They'll see money before anything else. But I promise you this. What I feel for you is real. You changed me. You reminded me who I want to be. I searched her face one last time. For lies. For masks. I didn't find any. Just hope. And love. And that same softness that had pulled me in from the start. So what happens now? I asked. Now we try. Together. If you want to. I thought about the hurt. The truth. The woman who stood beside me at the sink. And the woman who was brave enough to walk away from everything she knew. I want to, I said. Her face lit up, like she'd been holding her breath all night. She leaned in and kissed me. Gentle. Warm. Full of promise. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. No more lies, she whispered. No more lies, I said. As we sat there, lights glowing around us and the city stretching endlessly below, I realized something. Maybe the strongest love stories don't start perfectly. Maybe they start messy. And honest. And grow stronger because of it. We had a lot to figure out. Balance. Trust. The world's opinions. Our shared future. But for the first time since everything fell apart, I believed we could do it. Together. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional journeys. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and remember this. Love doesn't always begin with the truth. But sometimes, it survives because of it.